This video will offer a brief overview of the cause and effect essay. If you bought your textbook, this section begins in Chapter 10 of For Our Students, 3rd edition, page 89. So let's just begin by discussing what a cause and effect essay is. A cause and effect essay explains the origins or the consequences of a situation. Now that sounds pretty broad, but it's actually pretty straightforward. All that means is that you'll focus on either the reasons why something occurs or the consequences of an event or situation, or you can discuss both. So let's say that you wanted to write about your decision to return to college. If you were just focusing on causes, you would just be discussing why you made that decision. If you were just focusing on effects, you would just be discussing the consequences of that decision. Or you might have an essay that discusses both causes and effects. All right. Now, when you are choosing your prompt for the essay, I want you to keep in mind that you have to choose from a list that I give you on Canvas, right? I'm going to switch screens here. Okay. Let me change to our Essay 1 Topics and Instructions page. This is in the Week 1 module. At the top of that page, you'll see some due dates, and then you'll see the list of essay topics. You must choose from this list, or if you would like to request an alternative, that alternative must be approved by me ahead of time, okay, before you even write your outline. So go ahead and make sure that you are going to write on one of these topics, or if you need to make a request to write on something else, that you make that request early. So here are your possible topics. Your greatest character strength or weakness, an important decision that you made, an issue or belief about which you have changed your mind, one of your favorite hobbies, a time when you succeeded or failed, or your current writing ability. So you must choose one of those topics. So let's switch screens again. As you're choosing your prompt, I want you to keep some of these things in mind. First, you can't have any research on this paper. Everything that you write about must be from you alone. Your essay should also be simple enough for 500 words and 3 causes, effects, or both. Now, you are welcome to write more than 500 words and use more than 3 causes, effects, or both. However, please don't go over 3 double-spaced pages. Okay? All right. So once you have made your decision about what your topic will be, I don't want you to jump right into drafting the essay. Instead, you should spend some time pre-writing. And what I mean by that is just generating some ideas. Now, up at the top, you'll see some suggestions for pre-writing techniques. And there is a longer discussion of this on Canvas in the writing process modules. So some of those techniques might include listing, questioning, free writing, journal writing, clustering, organizing list, anything that you can use to generate ideas. Okay? As you're doing your pre-writing, I want you to think about some of the following things. Is your paper just going to be on causes, effects, or both? I also encourage you to pre-write on both causes and effects. Even if you are just writing a paper about the effects of a situation or a decision, then you could use the causes as a way to get into your introduction. For example, let's say that you wanted to write about that decision to return to college. Even if your essay, your body paragraphs, were solely about the consequences of that decision, then your introduction could discuss some of the causes as a way of getting into the topic. Or you might have the opposite situation. If your body paragraphs are about the causes, then you might mention the effects in your conclusion. So pre-write for both causes and effects. It will probably give you a general sense of where you should go with your essay, and it will give you some ideas for introductions and conclusions as well. This is also the time for you to think about what are your primary causes and effects. So as you're generating ideas, you may come up with a lot of ideas, but you have to focus on the most important ones. Okay? Remember that you have to have at least 3 body paragraphs. You can have more, but your body paragraphs do have to be developed enough so that your ideas are fully fleshed out. So ask yourself, what are the ideas about which I have the most to say? All right, once you have your pre-writing down, it's time for you to think about a thesis statement. You see up at the top, here's your reminder. Every thesis statement has to contain the essay topic and the writer's opinion about that topic. Now remember that your thesis is the last statement in the introduction. Okay? So you'll see I've color-coded the sentences down here. And the blue is your essay topic, and orange, the writer's opinion. Okay? The example thesis statements that I have here are for an effects essay. And here are 2 ways that you could possibly write this thesis statement. Attending college has changed my personality in several positive ways. So the topic is attending college. The opinion, right, has changed my personality in several positive ways. You'll notice that you can tell from that statement that this will be an effects essay. It's how the choice, attending college, has changed something, has led to a certain consequence, changed my personality in several positive ways. Now that is a general overall statement. You might be more familiar with the other type of thesis statement that I have here at the bottom, which includes a list of the things that will be discussed in the body paragraphs. So here's that example. Attending college has helped me become more confident, more adventurous, and more knowledgeable. So in that example, you'll see that that list of 3 things, that will correspond with what you will discuss in the body paragraphs. Body paragraph 1 would be about becoming more confident. Body paragraph 2 would be about becoming more adventurous. And body paragraph 3 would be about becoming more knowledgeable. Either way of writing the thesis statement would be fine. Now, if you have this second type of thesis statement, though, that does imply that you have already decided on a type of organization. So this is a good point to discuss organization, how to organize the body paragraphs. Now, when you think about how to organize your body paragraphs, what you want to think about is whether it would make the most sense to use chronological order, which is just time order, or whether it would be most logical to discuss your causes and effects from least to most important. Now, to figure that out, you need to ask yourself, are my causes or effects related in a chain of events, or are they not really related that strongly? Now, by chain of events, I mean one thing leads to another. For example, let's say that you wanted to write about your decision to return to college, and you wanted to write an effects essay. A chain of events would be something like the following. A decision to return to college led to being forced to go from a full-time job to a part-time job. That would be consequence number 1. So that'd be the first body paragraph. Now, that consequence, going to a part-time job, led to less money for the family budget. That would be consequence number 2, or body paragraph number 2. And then that consequence led to a third consequence, which is that there's more stress in the family. So that would be body paragraph number 3. And you see in that situation, each event led to something else. So in that case, it makes most sense to talk about what happened one right after the other. Now, that is what we call an event, and that is usually when something happens at a fixed point in time. The other type of possibility is that you want to discuss from least to most important. So an example like this might be the enjoyment of a hobby. That's one of your topics that I've given you. The student essay example that I have on Canvas discusses knitting. And in that case, the student writes about how knitting was enjoyable for her because she was able to conquer a challenge, she was able to gain a skill, and she was able to connect with other people. Now, those things are not really related in a chain of events. They're just different reasons why she enjoys the hobby. Now, in that case, you want to go from the least important to the most important. And that's just a judgment call. Which one of those things is least and most important to you? So for her, the most important reason why she enjoyed that hobby was that it helped her connect to other people. Okay, so that was the body paragraph that she ended with. And you want to end with your most important body paragraph so that your essay ends on a strong note. All right, so you've got your outline. Now, and you'll see this is an example outline. I want you to follow this kind of format when you're writing your own outline for essay 1. So I want you to label the thesis, right? Attending college has changed my personality in several positive ways. And then each topic sentence should be labeled 1, 2, 3 in the order that they will occur in your essay itself. And remember, each sentence should be a complete sentence on your outline. So number 1, first, I'm more confident in myself. 2, attending college has also helped me become more adventurous and open to new experiences. 3, most importantly, so you'll see that's order of importance, I am more knowledgeable both in my field of study and about the world in general. So let's use this example to discuss development or how to prove your point. How do you create the details for the body paragraphs? You want to discuss how and why of the relationship. What is the connection between the cause and the situation, or the event and the consequence or the effect? So, for example, on number 1 here, this first topic sentence, first, I'm more confident in myself. So what's the connection between attending college and becoming more confident? So here's the example. When I moved to college, I was forced to become responsible for getting to class, studying, and managing my time and money. Succeeding at all of these things on my own gave me a sense of accomplishment. So what she's saying is that by being forced to do all of these things on her own, she learned that she could do more than she thought she was capable of doing. And that gave her confidence that she was able to do more things. So you need to provide that kind of connection. And of course, your details will be more elaborate than that. All right, so some warnings about developing your body paragraphs. So here's some things that you shouldn't do. Don't just describe the situation or event. Remember to focus on the how and the why. So inevitably, I have someone who might tell me why they chose their major. And they might say something like, I decided to become a nurse. And here are all the things that a nurse does during the day. Now, you don't want to just tell me what a nurse does. You want to explain to me why you became a nurse or how that decision led to certain consequences. Don't assume a relationship between two things just because they happen close together in time. That's called the post hoc fallacy, and you'll see it discussed in more detail on page 92. So what that just means is, for example, if you walk under a ladder and then you have an accident, don't just assume that walking under the ladder caused you to have an accident. So ask yourself, are these two things really related, or do they just happen close together in time? And finally, don't use what we call circular logic, which is where you're saying something like, I decided to become a nurse because I've always wanted to be one. Well, that doesn't really explain to me why you wanted to be a nurse. It just tells me a fact. It just tells me that you have wanted to be one. It doesn't tell me why you've wanted to be one. All right, and finally, revise it. After you've written your paper, I want you to go back through the essay and proofread for some of these things. Don't use a phrase like this. The reason is because. We already know if you're using reason, you're going to tell me the because. So that's repetitive. Just say the reason is that, and then fill in the blank. Don't forget your transitions. Look on page 96. There's a very nice list. So you can use words like since, as a result, therefore, caused by, for this reason, so forth. So think about what are the best transitions you could use to connect your ideas. Also, remember that there is a difference between affect with the A and effect with an E. Affect is a verb. It means to influence. So, for example, not coming to class affected my grade. Effect is a noun. It means a result. And for example, the effect of not coming to class was an F on my essay. And that's it. If you have any questions, please contact me.